Hi, this is Lisa Kelly, Notre Dame author and class of 1993, and you are watching the Two Irish Brothers Show. Cheers and go Irish!
How's it going, everyone? I'm Indy Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
And together, we are the Two Irish Brothers. Now, before we get to anything with this episode, I have to say, this video has been inspired by John from the Always Irish Show. If you guys haven't seen his show, check it out. We'll have a link posted below. But, John, if you're watching, you indirectly are the inspiration for this episode, and let me explain why. In the last episode that we did, we had talked briefly about Cheez-It and the Camping World, Camping World not switching places, but Cheez-It coming in and taking over the Camping World Bowl, making that bowl game the Cheez-It Bowl. And John showed up in the comments, and he left a comment saying, you know, that's a really good breakdown, guys, or something like that. But you guys should focus on how to better all the bowl games, not just this one particular game. So I thought to myself, and Ben, I think you had the idea as well. He's got a point. Let's make an episode doing just that. So, John, if you're watching, man, this episode is all because of your idea, and it's a great idea. So, thank you so much, man, and we hope you like it. And yeah, as I told you, we'd love to have you on the show one of these days. But thank you again so much for your inspiration and your hard thought out idea for this episode. And like I said, guys, if you haven't seen John on the Always Irish Show, check him out. A very passionate Notre Dame fan, to say the least.
Yeah.
So yeah. With that said, originally, and I actually, believe it or not, I had done this on my own channel some time ago. There's two of us now. Another mind to come along, the more ideas we have. So what I had originally thought of doing for this was just taking the sponsored name bowls, because that's always been my biggest issue. Ben, maybe you've had a different issue, but that's been my biggest one.
Yeah.
But Ben here, guys, he went above and beyond. And with the exception of the New Year's Six, which that doesn't need to be touched, right. Ben actually went above and beyond for this video, and he fixed the names of maybe not all the minor bowl games, but a good chunk of them that maybe sounded corny, I guess you could say. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, let's just start with the sponsored name bowls like the original plan was. So the first bowl game, Ben, is what was the Camping World Bowl is now the Cheez-It Bowl. And do we really even need to talk about this? I mean, I like calling it the Pineapple Bowl, so I think the Cheez-It Pineapple Bowl makes sense based on the location, being Orlando, Florida, and the history that I told everybody about with the pineapple fruit and it being a heavily manufactured fruit in the state of Florida at one point in time. So did you have any other suggestions or name thoughts for that?
No, I'm not actually able to find where I actually had on my list of bowl games. So there you go. Just totally dropped the ball on that one. Because that's like your, like, I don't even know, like your brainchild right there that I just like totally screwed up. So
it's my baby. I've been harping about it forever.
Yeah.
So
here we go. I have it. I named it. I named it the Strawberry Bowl.
Now, why strawberry?
So if you don't know, for people that aren't in the area, because anybody that lives in the state of Florida will know that Florida has one of the biggest strawberry festivals in the world every year. It is like advertised, like when you drive into Florida, you cannot miss like all the advertisements. Strawberry festival happens every year. Like people from all over the country, all over the state come and do like this huge like festival of strawberries that like are homegrown and stuff. It's nuts. And let me tell you, you've not lived until you've had a strawberry from the state of Florida, because they taste way better there. That's maybe me being biased, but for real. So yeah, I named something else the Pineapple Bowl, and you will see what I named the Pineapple Bowl in a minute.
Well, um, it's funny that you talk about this because I never knew that either. I never knew the strawberry had such a huge presence like that down in the state of Florida that they had festivals for it. So that's pretty cool. But I still like pineapple for the name of this bowl. But I don't know. Should we vote on names or let the audience vote?
Let the audience vote.
Okay. All right. To everybody watching, on every single bowl game that we cover, or at least the ones that Ben and I go head to head on, you guys take and tell me which name you like better. And whoever wins, whoever loses, and we'll both take it like a man. Is that fair? That fair, Ben?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
I hope it's me.
I mean...
Okay. All right. So the next bowl I had on the list was the Lending Tree Bowl.
Perfect.
Bowl. I had to name this bowl game the Yellowhammer Bowl. And here's why I say Yellowhammer. For those of you who don't know, Yellowhammer is a bird. I think the bird might actually be called something else, but I named this game the Yellowhammer Bowl because this is in Alabama, and the yellowhammer is the Alabama state bird.
Yes.
So that's my reason for naming it that name.
That is a good one. I actually really like that. I named the Lending Tree Bowl the Azalea Bowl. The bowl game takes place in Mobile, and in Mobile they have what is considered an amazing trail. I've never hiked it. Alabama is one of the few states I actually haven't been to. But they have what is called the Azalea Trail. And it is very, very well known throughout the state. And it is I guess I should say, tourist attractions if you're wanting to visit Mobile. So I'm like, I kind of like that. The Azalea Bowl, I kind of like that name, and something that's true to that little area that they're from. Because, Mobile's small. It's not a big area. So yeah, that's what I named it.
And that actually does have a nice ring to it too, like a classic traditional bowl name that would probably have been used in the past. So a part of me does like that. And I think it may be that you just shared with us. All right, so my pick, Yellowhammer Bowl. Ben, your pick. How do you say that again?
The Azalea.
The Azalea Bowl. So those are the two choices you guys to vote on for that one. The next one is the Red Box Bowl. Now, this one was kind of tough for me because I tried to look at every area for the state of California, because it is held in, I think, let's see, is it Santa Clara where the 49ers play? Because I'm pretty sure it's that stadium.
Technically, it's yes.
Okay. All right. So I had two different names that I came up with for both of them. The two names that I came up with was the Red Box Bay Area Bowl or the Golden Gate Bowl. So
I kind of like the Golden Gate Bowl. That sounds good. I do like that.
I think based on the fact that it's a San Francisco franchise that plays in that stadium, I think I'll go with Golden. The name for that game is the Red Box Golden Gate Bowl.
I like that. Yeah, mine was pretty similar, actually, believe it or not. I went with the Gold Miner Bowl because, the whole gold rush, and hence why the 49ers got their name, because it was the Gold Rush 49. So I named them the Gold Miner Bowl because, of course, they play in Levi Stadium, which is home to the San Francisco 49ers. So, yeah, we're similar, pretty close.
Yeah, those are two really good names. I'm sure whoever does decide to vote, and chances are Bob will probably be the only one, because he's the one who usually who is Bob Walker.
Uh-huh.
I think he'll probably be the only one who comments on this video. But hey, Bob, if you're watching,
come on.
Hey, no, Bob, if you're watching, we value your insight because you've been a long-time viewer. So don't take that as an insult. We're glad that you're a loyal viewer. But yeah, two more excellent names to choose from. Oh shoot, sorry, I hit the wrong tab there. Okay, so the next game is the Belk Bowl, and this game takes place in Charlotte, North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Um, Now, doing my research on this and just the state of North Carolina itself, this one I thought was really good. I decided to call this the Belk Emerald Bowl. And I call it the Emerald Bowl because doing some research, the emerald is the North Carolina state gemstone.
Interesting. Very interesting. I do like that. I like the ring to it. Yeah, so I went with the Pimento Bowl. So Charlotte, where this bowl game takes place, is the #1 producer in the country for pimento cheese. Something Wisconsin cannot say, cheese-wise, is the fact that Charlotte is the leading producer of pimento cheese. So I'm like, something to the area, something that makes that, perfect with Charlotte and stuff. So I went with the Pimento Bowl.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually watching a video of food video last night, and pimento cheese is actually an ingredient that's actually used with a lot of food down there.
Yeah.
Actually, a very popular topping. But I find that interesting. If the history matches, it does make sense. So that's another good name. So Emerald Bowl and Pimento Bowl, very good names. All right, so the next bowl of the sponsored name bowls, well, actually, technically, this is I think the final one because I think every other bowl game after this has it right with the sponsor and the bowl game having its own name. But I do have one after this that I thought just needed a little touching up, but we'll get there in a second. But the final one here is the Quick Lane Bowl out of Detroit, Michigan, and my name for that bowl was to call it the Quick Lane Motor City Bowl.
Dang, Sean! Oh my God! I literally named mine the exact same thing.
Well, there you go. That's one that nobody needs to pick between.
Instead of just saying the Quick Lane Bowl, I just said the Motor City Bowl, and then you can have the sponsor be Quick Lane.
Well, yeah, that's why I said it all together to see how it sounds. Like the Belk Emerald Bowl or the Red Box Golden Gate Bowl and so on. So some of these do have a nice ring to it, but yeah, that's one we're unanimous on. How about that? Because I'm telling all of you right now, Ben and I came up with our own names. We didn't tell each other about it.
Not this at all. This is all like, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I just told Ben, like, hey, you come up with names for these certain bowl games, and we'll unveil it during the episode. So we're this reaction you're seeing is real. This shock or whatever, it's very legitimate right now. So, but hey, just because we're unanimous doesn't mean you guys are. So if you have a better name for that bowl, then let us know in the comments below. Now, the next one that I had on this list, and it's one that I felt, this is just an opinion, you can share your own, but this is one that I just felt needed a little touching up. But the famous Idaho Potato Bowl, all you have to do is just call it the Potato Bowl and say sponsor the Potato Bowl sponsored by famous Idaho potatoes.
Yep, and and it's funny that you say that because I'm kind of on the same page as you. I kind of said about the same with my reasoning for calling it once again the Potato Bowl, because I mean it's sponsored by our leading producer of potatoes. I mean, so it's perfect. I mean,
yeah,
you really make it much better than that.
Yeah, it's just the thing is though, like we were just saying, famous Idaho potatoes is a brand name, and yeah, most people probably would just call it the Potato Bowl, but it's technically a sponsored name bowl. So yeah. I just felt it needed just a little touching up. Just separate famous Idaho potatoes and the name Potato Bowl itself. Right. So yeah. But with that said, that was the last of the sponsored name bowl games. Now Ben, this is pretty much your show from here on out. Let's hear. I know you sent me a text, but I did not read it. I didn't want to read it. I wanted to wait and do the episode. But tell me the bowl games that you made adjustments.
I made adjustments to, like, I kid you not, like I made adjustments to every single one of them, because I don't like that it's just like the New Orleans Bowl or the Texas Bowl or whatever. I want something a little more. There needs to be more to it than just the Texas Bowl or the New Orleans Bowl or the Arizona Bowl. I want something more than just that. Something that is unique to either the state or to the area that the bowl game is taking place in. And I think that makes it more special because when you look at like our big ones, the Rose, Cotton, Peach,
Fiesta,
you know,
Sugar.
those aren't the Pasadena Bowl. Those aren't the California Bowl. Those are the Rose, the Cotton, the Fiesta, the Peach. You know, so the same. I thought you couldn't really make a good change to it. Like the Citrus Bowl doesn't need change to me. You know, even though that's not like a big thing every year, like the Rose Bowl and the Cotton and the Sugar. But I did change like the Texas Bowl. I changed it, and like the Holiday Bowl, I changed that to something just a little bit more than just that general name.
All right, well, go ahead. Let's hear them.
Kept the Bahamas. One called the Bahamas Bowl, and it's like one of the only ones where the location's in the name that I didn't change because I feel like since it's technically not part of the United States, it makes it cool because it's like, oh man, we went to the Bahamas and we played the Bahamas, so it's the Bahamas Bowl. Everything else, I changed. So the Frisco Bowl that takes place in Frisco, Texas, I called it either the Star Bowl or the Railroad Bowl. Now, Frisco originally, when they were found passing, they needed somewhere for people to be able to stop when they were on the railroad. So they go and made it pass through it on the railroad. So it's mostly known and built around the railroad. So that's why I said the railroad, and of course Star, because you know everybody knows the Lone Star of Texas.
That makes sense.
But anyway, so go ahead.
I was saying that makes sense.
So then going to the Celebration Bowl that takes place in Atlanta, I changed it just a little bit and I called it the Freedom Bowl because Atlanta was Martin Luther King's stomping ground, and it's kind of where he started all that with the civil rights movement. So you know, I thought Freedom sounded better than Celebration for Atlanta, since they brought about a lot of change.
Okay.
And then moving on to the New Mexico Bowl, that was one of them that it's just a place. And I'm like, come on, there needs to be something a little bit more. So I called it the Cactus Bowl.
Okay, so you took the Cactus name, which the Cheez-It Bowl when it was still in Phoenix previously had, and you just gave the New Mexico Bowl this name.
Yes.
Okay.
The Cure Bowl that takes place in Florida, I called it the Coconut Bowl, since coconuts are, you know, native to Florida. And I wanted something, because there's only so much you can do with Florida, you know? I mean, there's, like, watermelons and oranges. Well, oranges is already taken because there's the Orange Bowl, so you can't do that. Citrus is already taken because that's Citrus Bowl, so you can't do that. Gator's already taken because there's the Gator Bowl, so not a ton I could do with that. So since it's kind of in a bigger area that's not, like, has something really, really unique, and when I don't mean to be rude with that, but there's not, you know, a very uniqueness to it, so I went with coconut.
You could, I guess, just to intervene a little bit here, I guess in that situation with the names that we've already been using, that's another scenario, just like, you know, my obsession with the Pineapple Bowl is where you could just put the Tangerine name back in.
Right.
But
Tangerine, that would actually probably be a pretty good one too. Tangerine Bowl. Yeah, I like that.
Well, see, the Citrus Bowl, the Citrus Bowl has been around since 1947, but originally it was called the Tangerine Bowl. And
Right.
then in 1981 they changed the Citrus Bowl.
Right.
And then, well, I've gone over this history several times already, so you guys get the point already. So, but you know, coconut is interesting because it's a new name. That's one that I certainly never thought of, but it makes sense for the area.
So the Boca Raton Bowl, of course, takes place in Boca Raton. I named it, and a lot of these I did research into. I wanted to see like what was known in the area, because you know some places get a name, but that's not really like where everything is situated. You know, some person that basically started the area named it that. So in Boca Raton, there is actually the bay, and the bay is actually called Biscayne Bay. So I named it the Biscayne Bay Bowl. Because that is technically the bay that Boca Raton, the city of Boca Raton, is in. This one, I'm going to butcher the first name of the bowl game, the actual name of the bowl game currently, the Camellia Bowl, Camellia Bowl.
I think it's Camellia.
That's another one in Florida. There's a lot of bowl games in Florida, which makes sense because at that time of the year, it's nice. It's actually decent in Florida as opposed to freezing cold like the rest of us normal people.
Yeah.
But in Camellia, there is a place called the Riverwalk. And a lot of people, tourist-wise, go and visit the Riverwalk. So I called it the Riverwalk Bowl.
Okay.
Las Vegas, kind of a general name, and most everybody knows Las Vegas. I went with a very Vegas-themed name. I called it the Jackpot Bowl.
That's good.
You go to Vegas to hit the jackpot, so, you're Jackpot Bowl champions. You came to Vegas and won your game, so you hit the jackpot.
I'm just glad you didn't go the route and call it like the Hooker Bowl or something like that.
Well, these are college athletes, Sean. They aren't professional. I can't do that.
Well, how else do you think they're recruited?
Right.
It's a joke, people. Have a sense of humor.
So the New Orleans Bowl, I went with kind of something very, very specific and special to not only New Orleans but Louisiana in general. The Fleur-de-Lis Bowl. For people that don't know, the fleur-de-lis is what is the symbol that you see on the Saints helmet. It has actually a very Catholic connotation to it. It was originally from France, and the symbol was very much adopted by the city of New Orleans when the city of New Orleans was founded. So I kind of like the name, the Fleur-de-Lis Bowl, because it's something very, very special and specific to New Orleans.
All right, that's cool. That's very cool. That makes a lot of sense too.
I'm gonna probably butcher this one too. The it's the
Gasparilla.
Yeah, Gasparilla Bowl takes place in Florida, so I kind of went with a more Florida name instead of that really hard name to.
Oh no, we lost you there for a second.
Oh yeah, you hear me now?
Yes, you're good.
Okay, if you didn't hear it, I said the Palm Tree Bowl.
Okay.
For that, because there's lots of palm trees. I thought like Palmetto, but then I remembered, South Carolina and Clemson play basically for the Palmetto State Showdown. So I'm like, I won't kind of take their thunder. So here's the one that you're gonna be like, oh, you took it from me. The Hawaii Bowl, I named the Pineapple Bowl because Hawaii is one of the leading producers and exporters of pineapples in our country.
Okay, all right. Now they are, but it was Florida before they became a state.
Yeah. You're correct about that, but now like Dole and stuff is like pretty much based out of Hawaii. Like you can go. One of my cousins actually toured like Dole plant down in Hawaii. It's incredible. I've never been there, but I take her word for it. Anyway, moving on. The New Era Pinstripe Bowl. There are 3 teams in Major League Baseball that have pinstripes. Technically, there is the White Sox, the Cubs. Actually, 4. I didn't even think about them. The Phillies, and then of course the Yankees have pinstripes. So I went, since it's played in Yankee Stadium, I went with the Yankee Bowl as opposed to the Pinstripe Bowl.
I mean, I do like pinstripe, but that's an interesting take on it.
Yeah, I mean, there are some that I'm like, yeah, you could leave it as is, but that just, coming up with a different name just for the sake of different names.
So far, Ben, the games you've been covering, even though I felt that they had it right with the sponsor and then the bowl game having its separate name, like you, I do question some of these names. like I felt they could have done better on. So far you're nailing them pretty well.
So the Texas Bowl, I named, of course, the Lone Star Bowl because it takes place in the Lone Star State, and of course the Cotton's taken, and Alamo's taken. Which I didn't touch the Alamo. I'll hit that one right now. I didn't touch the Alamo. I really like that. That's a huge part of our country's history. It takes place in the Alamo Dome, so I really like that name. You know, that was one of them that I didn't even touch. I didn't even bother trying to change it.
Okay.
The Cheez-It Bowl in Phoenix, I named the Rattlesnake Bowl.
Well, actually, Cheez-It became
It's going to change because it took over Camping World.
Yeah.
But this year it was the Cheez-It Bowl, so I renamed it the Rattlesnake Bowl.
Okay, all right.
Like I said, it will change because they took the sponsorship from Camping World.
So right now, at this point in time, I know from looking at Wikipedia, I think they're actually calling that the Cactus Bowl at this point in time, but we don't know who the sponsor. But right now, of course, the game doesn't have a sponsor.
Yeah.
But it's all good though. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. I did. I'm trying to see. We've kind of covered some of these. Oh, the Arizona Bowl, I called the Sun Bowl. I took it from another one and then changed that name too because there was one called the Sun Bowl already.
Yeah, that's been around since like the 40s.
But and that was the one that takes place, the Sun Bowl that takes place in
UTEP.
So Texas.
Yeah, at UTEP Stadium.
Yeah. And then of course this one, I was trying to find something for this one. It was kind of hard because the thing that I really wanted to roll with is already kind of a thing. The Birmingham Bowl, I called the Iron Workers Bowl. Now, Birmingham is known for their iron workers, and of course, a lot of people know, and when I say a lot, everybody knows, that when Alabama and Auburn square off, it is called the Iron Bowl. Classic, basically. So I'm like, man, the Iron Bowl would be perfect because of the Birmingham and the iron industry and all that. But so I went with Iron Workers as opposed to Iron Bowl because, I mean, come on, that's a historic matchup in college football between the University of Auburn and the University of Alabama.
Well, and also when the Alliance of American Football was still around, they had a team in Birmingham, and I think their name was the Iron.
Yep, the Birmingham Iron. Yep.
So, but yeah, it's hard to do that, to take a name that's kind of already pre-existing and come up with something new. Add a new twist to it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then the Holiday Bowl, I called it what it used to be, and I want them to go back to it. The Poinsettia Bowl.
Oh, okay.
All right. In San Diego. I always liked that name. It was one of my favorite names when I was younger for bowl games, other than like the Alamo Bowl and some of the other ones. But so I ended up calling the Sun Bowl because that was the one that took place in El Paso, and I used that one for the Arizona Bowl. I called the El Paso one the Miner Bowl because, of course, that's home to the UTEP Miners.
Okay.
And so that's pretty much it for mine. I kept the other ones. I kept the Outback. I didn't change the name because I felt like that was pretty good.
I think there could be an adjustment made to that, though.
Yeah.
See,
Well, okay. What do you got?
not a change in name, but I'm not sure. Is that technically a sponsored name, a sponsored bowl name?
Yes, it is put on by Outback Steakhouse.
Okay, so I think you'd just make a minor adjustment to it. Say the Outback Steakhouse Outback Bowl. So again, like the Potato Bowl, just make that small adjustment.
Yeah, I the only reason I know that is because I'm huge into Outback Steakhouse, and we actually have one here. And when they play, the team that I normally root for in the bowl game is the better of the two options that they give you if you go after the game is over. So, like, they'll give away, like, a free appetizer for, when Wisconsin was playing Auburn in it, Wisconsin was, like, team, what's the Bloomin' Onion? And then the other one, and then Auburn was something else. So I normally root for whoever's the better of the two options because if they win, then I get a free appetizer at Outback with that one.
Nice.
Call it selfish, I know,
but still though, that's one that just needs a minor touch-up. Call it the Outback Bowl, but just call it the Outback Bowl presented by Outback Steakhouse or something like that. So it's just a little tweak up, you know.
Yeah.
But
I kept the Military Bowl. I felt like that one was pretty good because it takes place in Annapolis. You know, I kept the Music City Bowl because, I mean, it takes place in Music City, which is Nashville. I felt like that was as good as you can get it for the most part.
yeah.
I kept the Liberty Bowl. I like Liberty.
Yeah, those names are really good.
That takes place in Memphis. And, of course, the Gator Bowl I kept. I mean, it takes place in Jacksonville, you know, so I like that. I mean, Gators are, of course, native to Florida, so, I mean, it makes sense. And then, of course, I kept the Armed Forces Bowl that takes place in Fort Worth. I mean, Fort Worth, the name says it all. It's Fort Worth, you know, so...
How about the First Responders Bowl? Did you cover that one?
I was getting ready to touch on that one. I actually like that name. I was like, should I change that? Should I not? Should I come up with something better? I actually really like the First Responders Bowl. Now, maybe it's because I'm biased because I do have family that works in, I have family and friends that work in dispatch, work in fire, work in EMS, work in corrections and police. So I like that there is the First Responder Bowl. I like that.
Okay. All right, then no reason to touch that.
I mean, could I probably come up with a better name? Yeah, it was one of those that I was really stumped because it takes place in Dallas. And you could say the Lone Star Bowl. Well, I already did that one. You could say the Star Bowl. Well, I kind of already did that one too. You could say, you know, so I'm like...
If you did change that one, that's honestly where you could... I don't know, did you see Bob's comment on our last episode?
I probably did, and I don't remember it. I can pull it up real quick.
Well, you don't need to, but he mentioned the old Blue Bonnet Bowl back in the day.
Okay.
Now you see, this is where I didn't do my research, and I admitted this, but Blue Bonnet back in the day, I always thought that was a sponsored name bowl, you know, like Blue Bonnet Butter.
Right.
But I didn't realize that Blue Bonnet was actually a flower, and it was the state flower of Texas. I didn't know that. I thought it was just, you know, another sponsored name bowl, and that's where they were getting started.
Right.
But he was saying that also at one point the game was played in the Astrodome, and they called it the Astro Blue Bonnet Bowl. But regardless, if you did change it, the First Responders Bowl, that's the name I think you could go with, was the Blue Bonnet Bowl.
That would be cool. I like that.
Bring that back.
I dig that. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what I like. I like little things like that. Like that's, you know, like you said, the state flower. So that makes sense, and that makes it special because you know what? I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but if I'm a player playing in one of these bowl games, and like, you know, I go and play in the New Mexico Bowl, but the name changes and they change to the Cactus Bowl, I'm more thrilled to have a Cactus Bowl trophy in my trophy case than the New Mexico Bowl trophy. You know? I mean, that's just how I feel about it. I mean, and like I said, I don't speak for everybody. Maybe people are like, that's a perfect name. So, but yeah, so I feel like things that are special, because let's be honest, you know, a lot of these smaller name bowls, they're where these smaller name schools go. And some of these guys that play at like the Ball States and the Ohio universities and stuff,
your MAC teams, your Sun Belt teams, your Conference USA.
That's their big game. I mean, no offense to them, that is. And as somebody who had family, you know, play at a smaller school, you know, you look forward to at least getting into a bowl game. I mean, that's a big thing for those guys. So to say like, yeah, man, you know, like 10 years down the road after they're done and gone and not playing anymore, saying, you know, I remember when I went to the Cactus Bowl, and I remember, you know, it was a lot of fun in New Mexico, or it was a lot of fun, you know, going to see this state because I'd never been there before, you know, and I never thought my wildest dreams I'd get to go play, So that's just kind of what I think.
Well, and that's why now with the new names that you gave, and the what you call it, the little adjustments you made to the names and all that. I mean, you do have a point. Some of these names could have done better on the names, but like I said, my thing was just making wanting these bowl games to have the sponsor and the name separate. But you've heard me go over that a million times. But you are right. I mean, some of these bowl games could have done better with the name, but more importantly, this is why you hear me harping so much on this topic, is because, like you just said, these smaller schools, that's probably the biggest game they're going to play on their schedule, unless they worked out a contract with a Power 5 school or something like that.
Right.
But that's just it. These guys who play at these smaller schools, if they're getting the chance to go to a bowl game that's on national TV, and have some fun while they're there. I mean, all these players get a gift basket or something.
Well, yeah, it's nice. It's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of cool stuff, gift certificates and a bunch of cool goodies and whatnot. Then why not treat it with like it's not a huge stage, but a respectful stage that you could be proud to play on. And honestly, when I see people, when it comes bowl season and they refer to these small games as the toilet bowl, that actually does piss me off.
Oh yeah, it's an insult to those players. To me, I mean, it really is. I'm not one of those people that gets offended at every little thing. But yeah, I mean, these guys work just as hard as the Notre Dame guys. They work just as hard as Alabama players. So yeah, to be like, oh, they're playing in the toilet bowl. No.
Maybe it's not important to you, but it's important to them. So I think that should be respected. I mean, this is their quote unquote postseason championship that they're playing for. Now, no, it's not the big stage, but like I said, out of 130 FBS schools, only 12 can make it to the big stage, to the NY6. So if you don't make it to the NY6, that doesn't mean your season's a failure, and these smaller bowl games shouldn't be treated like it was a failure. They should be treated with a little more respect than what they get.
Yeah.
And I think if the corporate sponsor and the bowl game itself actually treated it like that, then maybe people would have a different perspective on it.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, there are smaller schools that have very passionate fan bases that have a lot of tradition. Now, just because nowadays things have changed. I mean, come on. For the longest time, Yale and Harvard were considered amazing football schools. It wasn't until the last 100 years that things have changed since then. So there are other little schools that have very, very big, honorable traditions, that people don't know about because they focus on the big guys like Notre Dame and Alabama and Texas. And I get that. There's a place for all. But,
yeah,
I mean, I live in an area where we have a Division I AA school, but pretty much every year they're in the hunt for a national championship. That place is nuts on game day. I mean, nuts. But, oh, they're playing a toilet bowl. No, man, they still have a really, really passionate fan base.
Yes, they do. And a school that's actually not too far away from me. There's a college called Augustana,
Mm-hmm.
and actually,
yep.
yeah, and actually Augustana, one of their infamous coach in their history, Bob Reed. He actually coached at my high school alma mater, Geneseo, Illinois. Turned that program around in the late 50s, early 60s when the school was thinking about disbanding the football program.
Right.
And what ended up happening? He turns us around. We become one of the winningest programs in Illinois State history. He leads us to three state championships, and it put us back on the map for Illinois high school football. Well, he went on. He left to go coach at Augustana, and that school has a passionate fan base. And get a load of this: they're FCS Division III.
Right.
Division III, and they have such a passionate fan base.
Right. Yeah, it's a thing. Yeah, it's it's just like I said, people they're overshadowed by the big guys, and I get it. I mean, there's been amazing history at Alabama. There's been amazing history at our university we root for. I get it, but there's still a lot of history at these smaller schools too that you just don't know about. And football, unfortunately, up until the last like 10, 15 years, Division One was only so big. It's not like college basketball and college baseball and all those other college sports where you watch like the NCAA tournament in college basketball and you're seeing teams like VCU and Florida Gulf Coast and Cal Poly and stuff, teams that you would never even hear of in football land. So
yeah. And that's the thing too, is in college basketball, pretty much. See, basketball is one of those sports where anybody can play anybody.
Right.
And football, not so much the case, because they're just different. They're just two different sports, of course. But
right.
I think in basketball,
a smaller school has a better chance of beating.
Yes.
Because
it's kind of in a weird kind of way, it's more of a level playing field. Whereas the contact in football. That makes all the difference right there in the size.
Right. Well, and like size in general. I mean, you have a guy that's a starting lineman at a Division III school that's 250, 260, 270 pounds. And if you were to put him up against an Alabama lineman that's damn near 400 pounds, I mean, I'm sorry, the quote that right. The quote that says size doesn't matter. I'm sorry, man. Size matters. Like
in that case, yes.
So,
but put it this way, the NCAA tournament, we saw, what was that school that upset Virginia, that 16th seed?
Oh, you're gonna make me think that. Remember that now.
Well,
we didn't even have an NCAA tournament this year, so my mind is like so far.
Well, regardless, you may see an upset like that in basketball, but. For example, you'll never see a Division III school beat an FCS or an FBS team. You'll never see that. I mean, a Sun Belt team would destroy a Division III school.
Right.
So.
Oh yeah. No, we had at my job we have summer help, and most of them are college kids. The summers, and because we have a couple colleges around here and stuff. And one of them actually was a lineman for one of our local small universities in Division III. And, I mean, he was a lineman, and for a person, he's a big person, but for a lineman, he wasn't that big, I mean, it just shows, Division III school compared to, Division I FBS.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I had a family member playing in the FBS level. I mean, and he was bigger than him, and he was a linebacker, not a freaking lineman. So, I mean, I'll let you think about that.
Yeah, just use your imagination on that one.
I mean, so yeah. I mean, and I had been around I've been next to actual linemen that are in the FBS level and even professional level. And, I mean, they are monsters. Like, it is not fair how big they are. Like, let me tell you, like, they're just behemoths. So
I stood next to years ago when I was tailgating at a Notre Dame game. There was actually a player at our tailgate. I'm not going to say who because he probably wouldn't like me discussing it. I didn't really get a chance to talk to him because he was with the other people that were there. But this guy stood up. And he freaking dwarfed me.
Right.
Now I've had people tell me, "Oh, Sean, you're this big, tall guy."
You're a big dude.
Like, this guy made me look like a freaking midget.
Right. And I mean, think of someone like me.
Yeah, you'd probably break the record for the tallest midget.
Right.
Or whatever. I know it's an oxymoron, but you people know what I'm saying.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible how big some of those guys are. It really is. I mean, we had one kid at where I work, at the high school I work at, and he went Division I. He had scholarships from Duke and North Carolina and Kansas. Bill Self was in the building one night. I couldn't freaking believe it. And And I mean, he was just a man among boys. I'm sorry. I mean, he was 6'7" as a freaking junior. I mean, he was a monster. I mean, I'm like, dude, that kid puts on some weight, and he's going to be a freaking nightmare. So he plays for Oregon. I'll say that. I won't say the name. But yeah, he plays for Oregon, and now he's starting, and it's just there are some people that they're just monsters. I mean, and it's not fair. In Division I, there are monsters.
Yeah, there are.
I mean,
No,
yeah, I saw him. He actually was standing next to a freshman in gym class one time when I had to go take care of a spill or whatever, and you look at the freshman, and then you look at him, and you're like,
did this guy fake his birth certificate or something? What the hell?
He's just a freak. I mean, just one of those people that just, I mean, just one of the lucky few that has those beautiful, wonderful, fantastic genes that make you the fucking monster.
Yeah. No, that's true.
And he was really soft-spoken guy. Like, wouldn't hurt a fly, like, really nice, really polite, all that. But, man, if you saw him coming at you,
get the hell out of the way.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we covered everything pretty much with the bowl games. I know that I was looking on Wikipedia. One final thing I wanted to add, but I can't really comment too much on it because a lot of it was just to be determined, actually, or to be announced, whichever acronym you want to use. But it sounds like they're planning bowl games. One to be at Fenway Park, one to be at Wrigley Field, one to be in Los Angeles, I believe, and then a couple overseas, like one in Melbourne, Australia, and one in Dublin. But then again, it's Wikipedia. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I could see the Fenway. I could see that because that's happened before. Hasn't it Fenway?
Well, they've never had a bowl game at Fenway, but they had a Shamrock Series, Notre Dame, Boston College.
Don't think it game-wise, because I know regular season, because there's been a regular season game at Wrigley. What was it?
Illinois Northwestern.
Yeah.
And they can only go one way on offense.
Which I didn't like. I was like, and there were a couple of moments that was dangerous for those kids. I mean, I was like, holy crap. So, yeah, no, I don't know about Wrigley. Now, Fenway is big enough.
Well, you got to remember with Wrigley Field, they did some renovations, so I think they're able to host football games now.
Yeah, instead of going just one way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you could do that, then yes. If you can only go one way, no. Like, that was that. Mm-hmm.
Well, at least it was they were going the safe way, though. They weren't,
Right. But I mean, still, it's. So yeah, but that would be cool. I don't like the overseas thing. I really don't. I don't like it in the NFL. I mean, I get like the Notre Dame aspect, like them going and playing in Dublin against Navy. I kind of get that, but I mean like Melbourne. I don't know about that.
And also that's something you got to think about too. And these games are just being discussed. I don't think they've officially been announced as going to happen. But if you're going to do a bowl game overseas, you'd better make sure it's a damn good matchup because how many people? What do you think the ticket? What do you think the ticket sales would be like if it was two lower level teams?
Right.
I mean,
on the flip side, could you imagine the ticket price if it was like Alabama versus Notre Dame?
Well, yeah, of course, people would make the trip for that one.
Oh, I mean, they'd make a trip for it, but oh my God, tickets would be astronomical.
People would pay it. There's rich enough people in both fan bases who would.
Well, there's people that would say, this only happens once in my lifetime, so I'm paying the money to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I get that aspect too, but still.
But it's like, yeah. Again, I stick by with what I said. If you're going to have an overseas postseason bowl game, you better make sure the matchup is good. Because I mean, people are not going to travel for, say, a MAC versus Conference USA.
No.
So we'll see what happens with that. But the first three, Chicago, Boston, and Los Angeles, I can see that happening.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, Los Angeles and Boston, perfect. I mean, examples. You have big name team. Well, when I say big name, Boston College is still to me a big name team, but and of course Southern Cal and UCLA. I mean, those are two big name teams. So and they have more than enough stadiums down Los Angeles to play in.
Well, and here's your name for the one in Wrigley Field, the Ivy Bowl. Right? See, right now Wikipedia is just calling it the Chicago Bowl. Well, come on, you got to do better than that. At least call it the Windy City Bowl. But Wrigley Field, calling it the Ivy Bowl for obvious reasons, it makes sense.
Right.
And then
Special area, right.
and then of course it sounds like they were going to call the Boston one the Fenway Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I'm fine with that. The Los Angeles one, I don't know what you could call that one. The right,
Bowl?
the what?
The Hollywood Bowl? I don't know. I'd have to think about that one.
The Crips Bowl. The Blood Bowl. The Riot Bowl. Come on, people, freaking laugh. Nobody's laughing during these times.
We are Notre Dame fans. We do hate USC. Come on, give us a little something.
It's like I'm not getting political, but come on, people, we all need to laugh a little bit right now. It's good for us.
Grind time.
But anyway, so with that being said, one piece of news we got to talk about: the Irish just got another big score on the recruiting trail. They were able to sign 3-star cornerback Ryan Barnes out of Maryland.
Yep.
And that is huge for us because one of the things that we are needing pretty, I wouldn't say, maybe not badly, but we definitely could use the depth and talent at is the defensive backfield.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's not a desperation, but it is definitely a need.
Yeah.
And we're building a monster secondary, man. I mean, we got the young Kyle Hamilton, and I mean, if he continues to go up, oh my God, and this guy out of Maryland, if everything is correct with the analysis and stuff, I mean, there are some people that say it's not fair that he's 3 stars and he should be counted as 4. I've seen that on Twitter and stuff. So, I mean,
well, Notre Dame obviously sees something in him because they've been treating him like a 5-star recruit.
Yeah, I mean, and let's, we got to give a big pat on the back or a round of applause or whatever you want to say to Mike Mickens because, that dude is recruiting people out of places that I didn't think we would ever get somebody from, So, I think I said the name right, didn't I?
Mike Mickens, yeah, that's right.
You were looking at me like I said something like I said
No.
wrong.
I just was listening to what you were. I was just no. If this was, I would just simply go, cut it, Ben, cut it. No, I was just listening to what you had to say. But I don't know if I'd consider Maryland one of those places. I mean, we've gotten some.
Right. And, 4-star out of it. I mean, like some of these other guys.
A party was
cut. All that or no?
A party was cutting out there.
I mean, yeah, I agree with you with we do get guys out of there, but I mean, it's not it's not consistent enough to be like we got a pipeline going. But Mickens is really seeming to get guys from all over now, and I think that, that's awesome because I remember, and I give credit where credit's due. So I know like I'm a huge Notre Dame fan, and people are probably like, oh my God, it's a different program. Why are you giving them so much credit? But like Boise State, when Boise State was really, really good, they had guys from the East Coast, from the West Coast, from the South, from the North. Like they were getting guys from all over the country to come to their program. I mean, how many programs can say that?
Not many.
So, I mean, for Notre Dame to be getting guys out of all these different areas, that's saying something. That's impressive. And Mickens is one of the big reasons that we're doing that.
Well, and that's true. And this kid, he's the real deal too. From what it looks like, he's quick, he's fast, he has great covering skills, has great vision. So he knows what he's doing out there. Of course, it's going to take work to build him up, but
Right.
but I think the Irish got a. Maybe this is a little premature to say, but I think they could have gotten a steal with this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I totally agree. And it's all about finding those guys that have a lot of potential upside. Because I would rather have a guy that has a lot of potential than a guy that's already at his peak.
Mm-hmm.
Because if the guy's already had his peak and where he is, that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
And constant improvement, especially in football, is a must. I mean, and the ultimate goal for these guys is to come to Notre Dame, win a national title, and move on to the highest level, which is the NFL. In the NFL, if you want to be successful in the NFL, you have to constantly improve your game. It's not, I'm really, really good and I'm set. There have been lots of guys from Notre Dame and from a lot of other big name schools that were really, really good, but that's all they were, was really, really good, and they couldn't up their game when they got to the NFL level.
Yeah, because it's not the same level.
They were average to below average. And I mean, I can name you lots of Notre Dame guys. No offense to the program, but I can name you lots of Alabama guys too. But just a lot of guys that come from big name programs that they're really good, but they can't continuously get better.
No. And one probably the last topic for this video, but obviously, Ben, as I'm sure you've been reading, speaking of the recruiting trail, we obviously all of us Irish fans know about the wide receiver out of Georgia, that Deion Colzie. He backed out on his commitment to us for the 2021 class, but now he said that Notre Dame is back in the hunt. I think he's narrowed his decision down to like 10 schools or something, and we are one of those schools.
Yeah.
What do you think our odds are of trying to get him to come back?
I don't know. I don't know. What helps a lot is if he has it narrowed down to 10, we have a season to impress. Now, I'm not saying, play your season to impress one guy. That's not what I'm saying, before people come into the comment section and be like, oh, well, no, that's not what I'm saying. But if we have the potential, according to everybody that we have, and we go on a push to get into the playoffs, that looks really, really good for somebody that's on the fence saying, should I come to your school? And not to bash Notre Dame, but Notre Dame has one thing going against them a lot when it comes to recruiting, and that is the fact that Notre Dame is such a rigorous academic school. Why would I want to go to Notre Dame if I have to really, really bust my ass in the classroom and on the football field and go for a national title when I can go somewhere else and don't have to bust my ass as bad in the classroom?
Yeah, exactly. That's very true. I mean,
and that's not a knock. That's just the truth.
It's how it naturally goes, and people are afraid to talk about it, but that's how it goes.
I'm gonna tell it to you straight. On this show, that's how it is, and it from somebody looking at it from the outside. I never went to Notre Dame. I'm one of those fans. You can call me not a true fan since I didn't go to Notre Dame. I don't care. Whatever helps you sleep at night. But looking at it from the outside in, that's the mentality. That's the mindset of some of these guys. Now, is it the correct mindset in my opinion? No, probably not. But it is. And I want Notre Dame to win. Period. So the way you win guys over is winning. You win. Why did Georgia's class all of a sudden become a really, really, really good class? Because they were winning games.
That's perfect.
You can't just do it, and there have been multiple people that say it, and I'll say it too. You can't just go off tradition.
Exactly. It's funny that you mentioned Georgia because, one, obviously, Magnum's a good friend of mine, and he said it the best one time. College football is a what have you done for me lately kind of sport. And it's no different with these recruits. They want to see the best that you can do, the best that you have to offer. And if you're not getting it done in the field, that's gonna take away some of their interest.
Right. Yeah.
We still.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, granted, we had a 4-8 season back in 2016. We still were able to keep a lot of big name guys on our recruiting list, but us having a season like that, makes you kind of it scares you a little bit because it's like, what's going to happen with our recruiting class? Is this going to deter them because we had a bad season, which could easily happen?
Right. Yeah. No. And Magnum is exactly correct. And it's not even just with recruits. It's with the voters. It's a what have you done for me? We have that stigma right now that Notre Dame can't win the big game. So why should we even give them a chance? But it's the same with Alabama. It's on the flip side with Alabama. Well, seems like every time Alabama goes to play in a big game, they win it.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a what have you done for me lately? And is that right or wrong? I don't know, but I mean, that's how it goes. And unfortunately, if that's how it goes, then it's how it goes.
I mean, myself as a fan, I want a national championship. That's what I want the most. But if we have to get started somewhere, I'd like to just at the very least win a New Year's Six bowl.
Right.
Now, of course, you always try and go undefeated. You try to win the national championship. But if we were to only get to an NY6 bowl this upcoming season, but we win it, you know what? I'd be happy with that because it's at least a step in the right direction. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, and you play to win. I mean, seriously, like it's like that quote from Herm Edwards. You play to win the game. And in college football, there are no mistakes. I mean, if you make a mistake, college football, unfortunately, for the most part, even these days, you lose a game, you're pretty much out of it, unfortunately. I mean, if you lose a game, it has to either be very early in the season, or it has to be to a superior opponent by a very, very, very little margin.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because like people griped and complained one year, like when Ohio State got in or whatever. They're like, well, look at their loss or whatever. What happened early enough in the season where they could rebound and make a push? Now, I'm not saying like I'm trying to defend them, but I'm just saying like looking at it from a voter's perspective, they gave the voters enough proof to be like, okay, everybody, they slipped up, it happens, whatever, But I mean, if you get blown out at the very end of the season, and that's your only loss, you're not making it in. It is what it is.
The best example in regards to that was Oklahoma. Now, Oklahoma, I think it was just a couple of years ago, actually. I think it was the year before, I believe. They had one loss and made it to the playoffs. Well, that one loss was to Texas. But after they lost to Texas, they won all their games. They ended up playing Texas again in the Big 12 championship, and they beat Texas. So they avenged that prior loss. So they beat every team on their schedule, and so it was only fair that they made it.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's how the voters saw it. They beat every team on their schedule. Yeah, they lost to one of them prior, but they avenged that loss by beating that team who beat them.
Right.
So.
Yep. Yeah, so, going full circle back to the recruit, that's just how it is with recruiting. And recruits watch these games, and if you look at, now people know about them, but, some recruits don't know a lot about your program. Some recruits don't know what you're all about, and it's not just a on the football field situation either. It's what's the university offer? What's the atmosphere like? What's, there's lots of factors. So if you have all these other factors going against you with a recruit and you're trying to keep him, winning is very key.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's cold here, but it's cold there, but I have a really good chance of winning a national title, so I'll go there. As opposed to, I don't really have a good chance of winning a national title and it's cold there? I don't know about that one, man, So,
well, Notre Dame in particular, I hate saying this on a show, but Notre Dame, they'd better focus strong on the winning aspect because the city of South Bend, there's not a lot to do there.
No. Now, granted, if you want to do something, you can go to Chicago. Chicago's not.
Well, yeah, I guess there are nearby places, yes, but still.
But yes, like everyday life, and especially during football season, it's an everyday life thing. No, there's not a lot going on.
There is a place nearby I have been to a place just over the border in Niles, Michigan. They have a place with batting cages and go-karts and stuff, but
right.
Yeah, if you're talking just the city of South Bend alone, no. Not much of a nightlife, not much to do there.
Right. It's not like going to Southern California or South Beach or,
Yeah, where the beach is right there, and there's clubs and all that.
Right.
So, but anyway, Ben, I think this is a good place to end the episode. I think this was a good one.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
So,
I love talking bowl games. I love bowl games. I love football in general. I've seen so many different stadiums in so many different cities and stuff. So, yeah, it's fun talking some different stuff as opposed to just Notre Dame. People are going to be like, oh, no,
Yeah. Yeah, but just anyway, look, to everybody watching, hey, the five sponsor name bowls that we talked about, we'd like to hear your vote on the names that we gave out. If you have other name suggestions that Ben may not have listed off, we'd like to hear that too. And hopefully there's more commenters than just Bob, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but everybody who's watching, we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to know what you've thought of our show to this point, and we'd like to interact with you more. But even if it is just Bob, hey, that's fun too.
Yep, totally agree.
So, but yeah, we'd like to hear from all of you again. Just don't be afraid to comment or ask us a question, whatever. So, and also to you, John, from Always Irish. Again, you were the inspiration behind this episode, so thank you. So, with that said, Ben, anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. On that note, I am Mendy Sean 45.
I'm Irish Benjamin 57.
We are out. Thank you all for watching.